Our top stories tonight: allegations that the Gupta family laundered hundreds of millions of rands. Journalists say they have evidence of the money trail. A new court bid is made, this time to challenge an application to have charges against Pravin Gordhan set aside. This is eNews Direct Weekend Edition. Good evening. I'm Melanie Rice.
And I'm Benita Vigatini. Good evening. You can comment on any of our stories by following us on Facebook and Twitter at eNews Direct.
Or you can check out our content on our website, eNCA.com/direct. Investigative Journalism Unit Amabungani and the Daily Maverick have published evidence of alleged money laundering by the Guptas. It claims the family used their political connectivity to extract kickbacks from other parties doing business with the state. The money received was allegedly transferred overseas using structures that do not appear to be linked to Gupta-owned companies. The money, believed to total hundreds of millions of rands, was moved between late 2014 and 2015.
Talking about bank statements showing this money flowing under very suspicious circumstances. We're talking about a report, an official report, which, by the way, is part of what was submitted to the previous public protector, which also talks of the Reserve Bank on suspicion of money laundering, freezing some of the money flowing to Hong Kong. And then we have all these things that are just too much of a coincidence, including that the money starts in each identified case with a Transnet contract, which is parastatal, where the Guptas and their colleague Salim Essa has great sway. Then through 5 identified companies. In each case, these companies have contracts with Transnet. And in each case, there was some form of dealing with the Guptas or Essa. And then some of that money washes up in Hong Kong, and it ends up with a company that we identify as having a registered address, which just happens to be the registered address also used by 3 of Salim Essa's companies in Hong Kong. Much of a coincidence.
Meanwhile, the family issued a statement earlier today before the article was published, accusing Amabungani of trying to destroy their businesses. The family says the unit sends them questions that are full of innuendo and speculation, but no evidence. Well, with days to go before the finance minister appears in court, there's a new legal challenge set to be launched. This time, it's an application to intervene in the upcoming Freedom Under Law and Helen Suzman Foundation matter. The two groups are asking for charges against Pravin Gordhan to be set aside. But now the Decolonization Foundation wants to intervene, saying the application threatens the independence of the NPA.
We're not dealing with the merits or demerits of the case. We are not here rooting for one side or the other. What we're here about is for the solemnity of the constitution of this country.
On November 2nd, Pravin Gordhan will appear in court on fraud charges related to an early retirement package for former SARS executive Ivan Pillay during the finance minister's tenure there. Freedom Under Law and the Helen Suzman Foundation have applied to the Pretoria Regional Court to have those charges scrapped, arguing the National Prosecuting Authority is being used as a political tool. But the Decolonization Foundation says that move is interfering with the rule of law and is applying to intervene.
This act by Freedom Under Law and Helen Suzman Foundation actually is quite frivolous, and in fact it is interfering with the justice system of this country. It is an act that seeks to intimidate. It is an act that seeks to instill fear within the NPA, and we say it should be condemned.
Both Freedom Under Law and the Helen Suzman Foundation wouldn't respond to requests for comment, as they said they are yet to be formally served with papers. But legal experts argue the onus is on Mani to prove he should be involved in the case.
He would have to persuade the court that he is an interested and affected party in some way or another. Is he or the entity or the organization or company that he represents in any way going to be affected by the decision that will or may be given in this case? Then he could be joined as a party.
The case has drawn much attention, with calls for South Africans to hit the streets in support of the finance minister. In 3 days, South Africans will witness a court case with severe political and possibly even economic implications. As the legal toing and froing continues, the true impact of this on the country's future remains to be seen. Nicolaas Bauer, Johannesburg.
Not enough is being done to support women entrepreneurs on the continent. That's the view of the Tony Elumelu Foundation, which runs a course every year especially aimed at small business owners. The program is currently taking place in Lagos, Nigeria.
This is an opportunity of a lifetime. Rise up to meet it.
A chance for up-and-coming African entrepreneurs to take their businesses to the next level. South Africa's very own Patience Mpofu is one of 1,000 business owners from across the continent, taking part in the annual Tony Elumelu Entrepreneurship Forum.
I was a regular user of Uber, and I met many drivers who had businesses that they were running on the side in addition to what they were doing for Uber. And a lot of them were facing a challenge where they lacked the expertise or they didn't have enough knowledge to launch an online presence. So I thought that it would be a good idea to provide that kind of a service to startups that are looking to establish themselves.
Mpofu was chosen from a selection of more than 45,000 small business owners who were keen to take advantage of the program. There's a push to develop female business owners like Mpofu, as the continent looks to have more women running their own entities.
We'll also particularly shine a light on women entrepreneurs because you know what, we want to send a message to the world outside that women in Africa are entrepreneurs. They do set up and run their own businesses, yeah? And that what they need is, targeted and specific support.
The Elumelu Foundation's invested over $100 million to help create 10,000 new small businesses on the continent in the next 10 years. It plans to empower business owners to be among the generation of entrepreneurs who will help grow Africa's economy.
Well, with just 2 weeks before the American elections, the FBI has announced that it will be relaunching its investigation into presidential hopeful Hillary Clinton's emails. While Clinton is confident that the probe will come to nothing, her rival Donald Trump says Clinton should be stopped from taking her criminal scheme into the Oval Office.
The news this morning is this is bigger than Watergate. This is bigger than Watergate, in my opinion.
Donald Trump's reaction to the news that the closed FBI investigation into Hillary Clinton's emails may not be quite as closed as we thought. Back in July, FBI Director James Comey said that Mrs. Clinton hadn't broken the law by using a private server to handle government emails.
Although we did not find clear evidence that Secretary Clinton or her colleagues intended to violate laws governing the handling of classified information, there is evidence that they were extremely careless in their handling of very sensitive, highly classified information.
But then on Friday came this letter, sent to the heads of several congressional committees. It says that while looking into another unrelated case, the agency found more emails relevant to the investigation. So it wants to look at those and see if there was any classified information in them. It now appears that other case was a probe into text messages sent by New York Congressman Anthony Weiner to a 15-year-old girl. Mr. Weiner's wife, Huma Abedin, is a top aide to Mrs. Clinton. And on Friday, the State Department was also scrambling to react to the news.
The point here where we're trying to figure out what these emails even pertain to, whether they're relevant to her time as Secretary of State. Can't make any assumptions at this point that they are, but they may be. As much as they are, we'll certainly seek to work with the FBI if they ask us to.
The Clinton campaign says the American public should be given more information than is in that letter, and it's extraordinary, they say, to see such a development 11 days out from an election. But it added that this examination won't produce any conclusions different from those reached in July.
This latest news has left the American electorate with more questions than answers. Most importantly, when will the FBI make public the results of this latest investigation? It's unlikely to happen now until after Election Day, but that won't stop the people here at Trump Tower from making the most of every moment that their rival is under the spotlight of suspicion and every day of uncertainty. And even if this doesn't cause many Americans to change their vote from Clinton to Trump, it may well mean nonetheless that people fed up now as they are with yet more scandal might just decide to stay at home on Election Day. Lorna Sharek, New York.
Let's take a look at other news making international headlines. At least 5 people have been killed in suicide bombings in northeastern Nigeria. 2 suicide bombers detonated their explosives outside a fuel depot and a camp for displaced people. No one's claimed responsibility for the attacks, but it's suspected Boko Haram may be behind them. A fire has broken out on board an American Airlines flight at a Chicago airport. The blaze was reportedly caused by engine-related mechanical problems. Over 160 people were on board the aircraft at the time. 7 passengers and 1 crew member were injured. And hundreds of Iraqis displaced by fighting in Mosul are being accommodated in newly established refugee camps. Iraqi forces have been battling Islamic State militants in an attempt to regain control of the city. Aid workers fear the camps may not be able to accommodate the thousands of people fleeing Mosul every day. Well, for these stories and more, go to enca.com/direct, or you can follow us on Twitter and Facebook at eNews Direct. Thanks, Benito. Well, coming up after the break, South African starlet Charlize Theron is honoured for her contribution at the Foundation for AIDS Research Gala dinner. Let's take a look at what's trending in the entertainment world now.
US comedian Amy Schumer has defended her parody of Beyoncé's hit song Formation. Schumer received a lot of backlash on social media after the video's release. The hashtag Amy Schumer Gotta Go Party went viral and she was criticized for being culturally insensitive. But she says the video wasn't a parody, but rather a way to celebrate women. Schumer also added that Beyoncé approved the video before its release. Onto movie news now. The British Academy Film Awards have once again paid tribute to their Hollywood counterparts during the Britannia Awards. The awards honour international talent who've made an impact in Britain. Samuel L. Jackson, Jodie Foster, Ewan McGregor and Ang Lee were among the honorees.
I have a special place in my heart about with the English industry. They nurture me, make sensibility. And I did pretty well with the BAFTA. They treated me really well. And also, the reception of my movies in the past has been incredible in England. So I'm glad they come here in LA to be so influential. We're going to do it here.
And finally, the Foundation for AIDS Research in the US held its 7th annual Inspiration Gala last night. Oscar-winning actress Charlize Theron was honored for her contributions. During her acceptance speech, Theron called for the fight against HIV and AIDS to intensify.
Despite our best intentions, sometimes people are still falling through the cracks, and too many are not being seen. And it's tough to admit, but as much progress as we've made, sometimes it feels like we're failing the ones who need us the most.
Comedian Chelsea Handler, model Heidi Klum, and actor Kelsey Grammer also attended the event. More than 20 million rand has been raised for life-saving AIDS research programs.
And that's your entertainment for tonight. Louis will be back after the break with your latest weather update.
Welcome to the Weather Centre, everyone. The heat wave continues tomorrow over the central and northern parts of the country, although there is a possibility for a couple of thunder showers in places. Cooler air is also going to be pushing in along the east coast of the country, cooling KwaZulu-Natal and the Lowveld of Mpumalanga down by quite a few degrees. Over the western and northern Cape, it's going to be a mostly sunny and dry day on Sunday. We don't expect any rainfall for those provinces. In KZN, it's going to be much cooler, lots of cloud along the coast and the southern interior, along with some light rain for those areas, 19 for Pietermaritzburg and Kokstad. And in the eastern Cape, there'll be early morning drizzle from Mthatha, Bishu, as well as Port St. John's, but the afternoon is going to be dry all across the province. It will also be a dry Sunday for the Western Cape, where it's going to be mild along the coastal areas, but for the interior it will be a warm afternoon with temperatures climbing into the upper 20s. Hot for some areas in the Northern Cape, Portsmouthburg sunny with a minimum of 16 and a maximum of 34. And in the Free State, it's going to be a very hot day. A couple of thunder showers will be possible over the eastern parts of the province. The northwest can expect extreme temperatures in the afternoon. Mahikeng and Zeerust at 40 degrees Celsius. Rustenburg not far behind at 39, along with the possibility for a couple of thunder showers. There is a chance that we'll see thunderstorms bringing some relief from the heat over Limpopo. Lephalale and Musina both climbing to 42 degrees in the afternoon. And in Mpumalanga, we see the effects of that cooler air over Mkhondo as well as Bombela. Those areas remaining below 30 degrees Celsius, while it's still going to be a very hot day on the Highveld, where we are expecting isolated thunder showers. Similar into Gauteng with temperatures in the mid to upper 30s in the afternoon. It's also going to be a very warm start to the day. Johannesburg, your minimum 17 degrees Celsius. On Monday, the thunder showers will continue over the eastern parts of the country. The heat wave will still be in effect for Gauteng and the surrounding areas. And on Tuesday, it remains very hot for much of South Africa's interior, but it's going to be a much cooler day over KZN, along with some wet weather.
Here's a recap of your top stories. Allegations that the Gupta family laundered hundreds of millions of rands. Journalists say they have evidence of the money trail. A new court bid is made, this time to challenge an application to have charges against Pravin Gordhan set aside. And that's a wrap from the eNews Direct team.